is muted, limo. Okay, the stars have aligned, everything came into place, the pieces fit, we're living in the correct timeline, and we got the reveal to one stage tour. For those that didn't watch the stream yesterday that happened in IGN FanFest, stage tour is basically the newest entry in the 5-fret genre developed by the team at Red Octane Games, which is essentially the spiritual successor to the old Red Octane that worked on Guitar Hero, and by proxy, the people that grew up playing Rock Band as well. So this team is composed by industry veterans as well as Guitar Hero and Rock Band fans. Now, why I'm making this video is not exactly to show my reaction to the overall game and the overall presentation, which I'm editing that as I'm recording this. It sounds weird as hell, but I am. But the main problem that I have with Stage Tour and why I'm recording this video is that on the Steam page, I came upon this chart that shows what languages are going to be supported by the game. Now, this is all like preliminary. This doesn't mean this is going to be the final, the final languages going to be featured in the game. But so far, the chart looks like it's only going to feature English, French, Italian, German, and Spanish. Now, the reason I'm recording this video is because I kept making this joke, like, oh, they're going with Spanish. They're going like the bad route. We're in the bad timeline, and I don't really mean it that way. But I'm pretty sure that if they don't pay the attention to detail that it deserves, it's gonna end up in like this weird limbo of lost in translation and the just overall low quality of translation and localization. Yeah, that's the word, localization. So why I'm bringing this up? Not only because they are using the... I'm not gonna say wrong, because Spanish is also valid. It's Spanish at the end of the day. But it's just the way the localization is gonna be handled. And the reason I'm making this video is to make sure that Red Octane is going on the correct path, and I want to like suggest ways they can handle this. So for example, the first thing that I noticed is that there's no Portuguese support, even though they have like Brazilian people working. For example, Karu, which is like one of the most famous, not most famous, but like the most influential artists that work on Red Octane that were formerly a part of the Yark team, is Brazilian. We have creators like Mandy Rocks, which she's Brazilian, and she is like cracking big numbers on social media, and there's no Portuguese support. That's like, I know this is all preliminary and this page is still in like building and the game is still in development, but I'm worried that they're not gonna pay like close attention to detail at what the languages are gonna be like. So in those games, like for example, I don't know, Fortnite or whatever the hell, you have like the language selection and you have two versions of Chinese. So you have traditional Chinese and then a simplified Chinese. Well, this is pretty much that. For example, in Spanish, you have the Spain Spanish, which in Espanol we call it Castellano, because of Castilla from Spain. And we have Latin Spanish, which is like a more neutral, more not accepted, but more like global version of Spanish, which tones down the lingo, tones down like the slang, unless it's to emphasize a joke, tones down like the usage of like outdated words. For example, there's like vosotros, queréis, this termination on EIS that's only regional to Spain. We don't use that in Latin America. And the reason why I'm recording this video is to just like to let my thoughts out on how do I feel about this. And I know the team is probably gonna read into all the bullshit that I've been saying on their Discord, and probably go like, wait, maybe we should pay attention to that, because I trust the Red Octane team is gonna like look into all the community feedback and to all their concerns and provide a good and satisfying answer. But the reason why I'm making this video is to pretty much bring up like the possibility of maybe creating this role, or I don't know if other studios, if other developers have this on their team, called like localization supervisor. I don't know if that's the correct title. I just made that shit up like yesterday on stream. which is basically a bridge. So think of Red Octane and the localization team that they're probably gonna hire to work on this game. So you have Red Octane here, you have the localization team here, and they're probably just gonna send over the files to Red Octane. And since there's not a bridge in between like the two parties, they're gonna just probably. I'm not saying this is gonna happen. This is just a hypothetical. They're gonna look at this file and go, "Yeah, this is Spanish. Just put it in." You know. So why am? It's like when you buy shit from another country, you have like the country you're sending it to, and there's like the customs in the middle. Well, essentially, this is gonna act like a customs. You send over the file, it goes to the localization supervisor team. I don't know if it's a team, just one guy, maybe just one guy, because Red Octane is quite a small studio, and that's fine. But if you have this bridge in the middle, you're gonna send over the file from the localization team to the supervisor, which works for Red Octane. So they're gonna check the file and check if the translation is good, the quality is up to standard, if there's not like lost in translation moments, if there's not like puns that got directly translated instead of localized, which I could go on a full rant about the difference between translation and localization. But essentially, the person in this charge is gonna look at that file and be like, "Yeah, this is good, and maybe this needs changing." And if something is wrong, they can just send back the file, like be like, "Hey, this thing you translated is not good. Just try to fix it, try to change it, spice it up a little, be funny or whatever." Then you send it back to the translation guy, and this guy goes like, "Okay, this now is good enough." And you send it over to Red Octane, and Red Octane puts it on stage tour, and everyone's happy. Now, the worry that I have is that by having this weird, Spain versus neutral or like Latino Spanish, that the community is going to be divided. And why I'm saying that? Because we at the team that works on localization at Milo Hacks, we're just like 5 guys there. We are called like Team Mondongo. We don't really like have it super professionally. It's just a bunch of volunteers working to localize the game to Spanish. And we essentially just come together and we discuss like, okay, what needs translation? Okay, there's this, there's that. Can we localize this? Like, directly translate? If it doesn't work, we localize it. By localize it, we mean, for example, there's this Mexican restaurant in RB3 called La Pesadilla in one of the road challenges. So we looked at the original document in English, and we looked at the official translation made by Babel Media, which is one of these like localization companies. And we went, okay, does this joke make sense? Is it in context? Is it funny? Does it work? All that jazz. And then we looked over and we said, nah, this shit's trash. Let's do our own thing. And that's where localization comes in. If there's a joke, if there's a pun, the team should have like the mental capacity to kind of like spice it up a little. I'm not saying this is a universal rule by any means. This is just a thing we did as volunteers to Mile Hacks. We just checked this. And we were like, okay, so the official Spanish translation is subpar. What if we spice it up? And since it's a Mexican restaurant, we kind of Mexicanize it. And by Mexicanize it, we just grabbed a bunch of Mexican people that play the game and go like, hey, what do you want to see on this like line of dialogue? What can you come up with? And by that, we just came up with something that was still funny because the original line was a joke, but at the same time, it made a reference to the very thing that you're about to perform in, which is a Mexican restaurant. And that's why I think having this like bridge between the localization team and Red Octane is fairly important, because then you'll make sure like, oh, maybe they're making shit up, or maybe they're like using ChatGPT, which I doubt. It's possible that they may use ChatGPT to translate, the localization team. A lot of people in the industry are liking to use fucking AI nowadays, which I hate. I will never use AI for any of this. But you make sure the translation is good. You make sure everything works. Everything is like, within context, and it's not formal, but like it works. It's under the SRB standards. There's no like swearing or unnecessary stuff. It's not like made up terms. There's no like wrong conjugations and usage of verbs and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm like vocal about all of this bullshit because I feel like that's highly important. And to avoid all these problems that other games have had, and with the recent rise of Latin American Spanish support, for example, a lot of Capcom games nowadays come out with Latin American translations and Latin American voice acting, which is also really cool because normally when I was growing up, well, with all of these like PS2 games, PS3 games, you know, the games came in Spanish, but it was Spain Spanish. And I was like, dude, we don't use the words that are being said here. GTA San Andreas, for example, has like two versions, one with Mexican, one with Spain Spanish. And that's fucked up because two of the biggest like gangs in GTA San Andreas are Mexican. So, for example, there's the Valas and the Bagos. Those are Mexican, like not made, but like Mexican-based gangs in the universe of GTA. So, when localizing, you should, and I'm not saying this is truth, but it should be expected that you take a look at the context and go, "Oh, this is a Mexican gang. We should probably localize it as speaking, Mexican Spanish." But no, the people that did the GTA 5 localization apparently just went full on with the Spain slang instead of like looking at the context and working with it. So you have Mexican gangsters speaking like Spain people, like Spanish people. So it feels disjointed, it feels disconnected, it feels like the localization team didn't take a look at the game and just translate it for the love of the game, for a paycheck, and just send it back. Which is what I don't want Red Octane to suffer. I don't want Stage Tour to suffer from this feeling that it's just for a paycheck, If the team is built on community feedback, by the people, for the people, I feel like listening to the people that play these games is a little important, and the people that play these games in Spanish as well, because you can have like I don't know. We and the team of Milo Hacks were like 5 different people from like 4 different countries, and we all agree like, yeah, you need to take a look at context before localizing, because for example, you may end up with a GTA 5 thing. And yep, I don't have much to say other than, Red Octane, you can, reach out if you need someone. I don't know. Yeah. See ya.